what fuels me is anywhere I know I'm going to find young people, anywhere I know there'll be yarn and there's going to be some learning that has kept me going the past 12 years. Great leaders across the world actually make out time to support a cause they believe in. And that is what I call leading through volunteering, making out time to make the needed changes you want to see in others. You set that example. And that's what leadership is about. We have to make volunteering our way of our life, and that puts us at the hallmark of leadership. Leaders at one point or the other have also been recipients of people's volunteering their time and effort and energy. So if you receive, it's important for you to also give back as well, to make it balanced. Fulfillment for me is when I see a child smile after they are able to make something with their hands. When the joy on their face, that's fulfillment for me. And I think that's the opportunity that should be extended to children across the world. You are leaving an imprint for others to look up to. And that imprint you have left, others look up to it, also make other impacts for the next generation. So it's like a relay race, and it keeps going and going. Leadership is about making changes, and as long as you're making a positive change, you're an amazing leader.
Hey, welcome to the Leaders Podcast with me, Laura McDonald, the leadership coach and mentor. Come with me as I explore the elements of leadership that give leaders like you the power and confidence to make the impact you know you can. I'll be sharing my own experiences, top tips and insights, and talking to some very special guests to share their thoughts and leadership experiences on mindset, influence, change and growth. So let's get right to it. Today, I'm excited to welcome Elizabeth Okeyele-Olatunji, Creative Learning Manager, Crafter, Volunteer, and winner of the Golden Scissors Award in the Emerging Leaders category. Welcome to the Leaders Podcast, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Laura. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and well done.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I can't wait to delve into your incredible story. I've obviously spoken to you about what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, I ask all of my guests a question so that leaders everywhere can serve themselves to serve others better. Everyone gives a different answer to this, so I'm interested to hear yours. What have you done to serve yourself in the last 24 hours?
Well, I think I've eaten an apple. I just ate an apple, and which I really wanted to eat anyway. So yes, leaders inspire others, leaders take care of others, but most important, they also take care of themselves. Whatever they want to do, they get it done. If it's something they want to eat, if it's a vacation place they want to go to, if it's some community they want to be, if it's a clothes they like, they want to buy for themselves, if it's something that is about you for you, that's how you serve yourself. So yes, I bought myself an apple in the last 24 hours.
Oh, I love that. Such a simple answer. It's brilliant. It's often the most simple things in life, isn't it, that just give us that little bit of, okay, I've taken care of myself, I'm okay. You've got a wealth of insights to share today, and I can't wait to get into everything. So let's start with your journey. How did you get to this place in your life? Because you're a creative learning manager, you're a crafter, you're a volunteer. Like I said, you won the Golden Scissors Award this year. How did you get to here in your life?
One thing that brought me here is passion for working with my hands. And that passion is being fueled by two love, my love for yarns and knitting, and also my love for children. So those two loves synchronized together actually helped me for the past 12 years to get to where I've gotten to. So what keeps me moving, what allows me to think, what fuels me is anywhere I know I'm going to find young people, anywhere I know there'll be yarn and there's going to be some learning that has kept me going the past 12 years.
Absolutely. Where did this passion for kind of knitting and crafting come from? Was it like your friends or your parents? Did you learn it at school?
Yes, I learned it at school when I was age 7. I was in a community primary school then, and I had my friends who taught me how to knit with broomsticks. So they had broomstick. I saw them knitting. I'm like, oh, this is something I like to do. And children, it's called peer-to-peer learning. They taught me how to knit right on the spot. And that was it. But the problem we had then was we didn't have a teacher to help us to teach us right. So we didn't have anything about learning to read patterns. We didn't have anything on knitting right. It was just that basic simple garter stitch with known by a 7-year-old. and that was it. I never learned how to cast off because most of them did not know how to cast off as well. And that was how I learned how to knit from my classmates when I was age 7.
Amazing. What's your kind of favorite things to make? What do you like to make?
Heart. So from then, when I learned how to knit, I didn't learn it right. So it was not something I did for a long time. I dropped it and I picked up crochet. So in my community, we had women who were giving birth to children, and I could do crochet well. So yes, I started learning. I made hearts for these babies in my community. So when a woman gives birth, I would go visit and I'll give to the baby a heart. So hearts were my favorite items to knit then. Then metamorphosized to when I now became a knitting teacher. My favorite things to knit now went just beyond art. It now went to toys. I started learning I started loving knitting toys, teddy bears, toys. You would catch me even as an adult, still awake at night trying to piece my toys together. And once I have it in full, it gives me that inner joy and that inner fulfillment. Yes. So from just knitting hard for preterm babies and babies in my community, I've metamorphosized to making a whole bigger project like a toy. Because when I take my knitted toy to class, it keeps my young learners excited. I really like that adrenaline when they scream and shout, wow, Mrs. O, this is amazing. So yes, my favorite items to knit now is teddy bears and big toys to inspire my learners.
Amazing. So for anybody that's not aware of your organization yet, so can you just explain what your organization is, what it does, what it tries to reach?
All right. So what the name of my organization is Souvenirs Creation. We are passionate about teaching young people how to knit with yarn, how to think with their hands. I actually looked at my mission statement this morning and I said to myself, we're actually going past the age of thinking children to knit with their hands. We are metamorphosizing to teaching young people now, so not just children anymore, young people to learn the beauty of crafting, the beauty of working with yarns, and the many beautiful things they can make. Now, from that Tony's creation, teaching children to knit with their hands, teaching children to think with their hands, a lot of things have grown. Number one, we have the tiny heart for tiny babies, where we encourage young people to knit preterm hearts that we gift to mothers of babies in the general hospital across Africa and in Nigeria as a whole as well. We have that one. Then we have the knit and crochet contest, where we have children from age 8 and above knitting the same heart, but this time around competing for a trophy provided by Pony Needle Industries in India. So 5 winning categories are selected from their creations. They are awarded accordingly, recognized, given the needed ovation, and so many other craft items as well to encourage them. And all their creations are added to the ones that are donated to the babies for the tiny heart for tiny babies. Then we have the knit and crochet classes for young people, which is across major schools in Lagos, where children and young people as well actually sign up to learn how to knit. They are taught the basics according to their skill levels. We have classes for beginners, we have intermediate, we also have advanced beginners as well. So we have the knit classes and we also have the crochet classes as well. Then we have the changing the world of children and young people with yarn that involves my visiting African countries, where I go to a country that we've spotlighted. I meet with those who are in the textile craft world. We go together to some orphanage and marginalized communities, teach some children how to knit, go to some universities and have talks on the beautiful prospect of working with their hands. And finally, I have my own book called the Knitting ABC book, where I do some meet and greet in libraries, in places where we can meet young people. They come in, get a copy of my book, and I teach them how to knit for free. So basically, that's what we have on our program. 5 programs we have on the main umbrella of Souvenirs Creation.
That's amazing. You do so much good work, and obviously we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I was really fascinated by the fact that you're willing to give so much of your time and so much of your energy towards young people, and I think that's incredibly inspiring. What is it that pushed you to want to give that all that time and energy without any expectation of something coming back?
Yes, it's because our country, Nigeria, very few people actually want to knit. And so if you try to go through the path where you say, I have to offer my skill, you have to pay me, you actually have no result. So, and there's so much beauty from learning how to work with your hands. And people are just going after the barest minimum, which is clothing, which is food, and which is shelter. So they don't have money to buy anything extra. So when they see you coming to say you want to offer your time and energy for free, they're like, there must be something I need to see that is making this woman wants to go all the far to offer it for free. And that gives them the inkling to want to have a taste of what I want to offer. So when you come and learn how to knit, you are going to obviously need yarn. You're obviously going to need a book. You're obviously going to need knitting pins, of course. So they now have to buy that. So the idea of offering my skill, my energy, and time is to give them a glimpse or give them a taste of what I have to offer. So when you give them a taste of what I am offering, they want to come back for more. I think most businesses in the world also leverage on this. When you go to YouTube, there are some videos you can watch for free. And when it's time for you to now join, you have to pay a fee to join, because by then you already have a taste of what exactly the program is about. So I leverage on that business strategy as well to move, give a bit taste of what I do, and in turn, if they want more, they also have to request, and that is when I now say, oh, you have to pay me for this. And because if we don't go this part, we might have little or no development in this part of the craft I do. I'm actually preparing to go to Cameroon now, and I've been sending emails and looking for people, and I'm saying, oh, we don't even have data for children who are knitting. And I met with some couple of crafters who say we don't even have a proper craft store in Cameroon. And I'm like, oh, that's a big opportunity. So what can I do in that? I could actually come in and teach children how to knit for free. I could come in and have presentation with young people on what possibilities of what they can make in their hands for free. And when these young people now go and fast saying, okay, how do I now get yarns? How do I get knitting pins? Then I say, oh, I have partnership with the yarn factory in Lagos, in Nigeria. We can bring this yarn and I can now request for payment from the yarn factory. Oh, I can now get payment from the yarns I'm able to supply. Oh, I have a relationship and partnership with the needle factory abroad. I can say, oh, Cameroon is a market for you to invest in. Then for there, I can now request for something to get paid to. So the idea is offer yourself for free, offer your skills, your time, so that they can have an idea of what exactly you want to do. Then from there, we can now grow and metamorphosize.
One of the points I highlight regularly with people is that leadership is not a job title, and leaders can be found anywhere. They're not just in business, they're everywhere. So when you and I first spoke about doing this episode, the key topic you highlighted was leadership through volunteering. And you spend a huge amount of time volunteering in some way. How do you think leadership is shown through volunteering?
All right. So the key word for me when it comes to leaders is about change makers. So what way to make a change than giving up your time? What way to make a change than giving up your skill? What way to make a change by giving up your energy? And if you take the forefront in doing all of these things, you are showing others how you want them to go. So when I find someone who says, oh, I'm muddled up with so much work, and I say to the person, you can make out time, some of your time to volunteer. At this point, when you are volunteering, you're not thinking about what you are getting back. You're thinking about what you are giving out. And in giving out, there's so much to get back. Imagine the joy when we give a heart to a preterm mother, to a mother who just had a preterm baby. What do you see in her face? You see her excitement. What do you see? You see the comfort. You see the empathy. And that, as a leader, is a place to find yourself, because this positive energy keeps you going. So there was one time I had a talk, 20 creative ways to get your creative juices flowing. And I mentioned that one way you can get your creative juice flowing as a leader is to make out time to volunteer. So that point where you are volunteering, you are demonstrating passion, you're demonstrating commitment, that you are demonstrating empathy, you are making a change. And in making that change, you are giving others what to follow. And I must tell you, Laura, there are amazing leaders across the world who make out time to make change. So the goal is that great leaders across the world actually make out time to support a cause they believe in. And that is what I call leading through volunteering, making out time to make the needed changes you want to see in others. You set that example. And that's what leadership is about.
Absolutely. One of the largest publicised areas of volunteering here in the UK in recent years has been food banks. So the cost of living crisis and other factors have forced many more people in the UK than we've ever seen before to rely on the generosity of others just to eat. And of course, we have other more general charities that are kind of highlighted all the time. So people with major illnesses such as cancer or heart disease, things like that. And I know you have similar schemes in Nigeria for poorer citizens and those suffering with ill health. But I'm curious as to whether you think people are more motivated to volunteer when it's a crisis or a basic human need that's at stake than when it's simply giving something back to the community. Should it always need to be a crisis for us to give our time?
No, it doesn't have to be a crisis. Volunteering is something you do almost all your time. If you're filling in some educational courses in the US, they ask you how much of your time have you volunteered, how much of your time have you given out, because they know that it makes you sane when you are certain some time in your lifetime to give back to others, because it's important. They know how well you are sane enough to give back to your time. There is this knitted knockers organization in the US where I volunteered to put my email on their list for African countries, because there was no Nigerian who was knitting breast knockers for survivors of breast cancer. And from there, two people actually requested for knockers and asked me to knit them some few knockers. And I was able to make them a knocker, but the other one I have not been able to fill up her order yet. But that's not the reason why I'm mentioning this story. An African cancer group reached out to me and said, "Oh, Elizabeth, why not teach these women out of your time? Teach them how to make their own knockers, so it won't be you knitting the knockers for them all the time, because I'm obviously quite busy." And I said, "Oh, that's fine." So we did a virtual class, and we are working at an in-person class very soon, so we can have these women here who come in and learn how to knit knockers for themselves, and also knockers for other women who are also going to come up in the future needing these knockers to help them survive the breast cancer. And we are now also taking this movement across Nigeria to Cameroon and say, we don't expect the Western world to be filling the orders for women who are breast cancer survivors. We can learn how to knit these knockers. I can teach you how to knit these knockers. You in turn can pass on the knowledge to other generation, and it keep moving. We can request for yarn, we can request for knitting pins, but the skill, we have it here, we can transfer it from one person to the other. So we do not have to wait for there to be a crisis before we can start offering our skills and energy and our time for free. We should make it a part of our life. In the first quarter of the year, I want to give out 2 hours of myself to either bone cancer survivors, to either children who are struggling with one illness or the other. I can always do this. So it doesn't have to be a food crisis. It doesn't have to be when there's a problem. We have to make volunteering our way of our life, and that puts us at the hallmark of leadership.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's going back to what you said about like making hats for preterm babies. Like when we had our son, there's a local charity here that makes hats for all newborn babies. So the very first thing that my son got given was he actually got two, because they tried the first one and it didn't fit. But but he got given a hat to put on his head like a minute after he'd been born. That was his very first possession. To me, that was like such a wonderful moment, because it was kind of like, oh, okay, already he's got like a little part of him there with him. So, and obviously we were very fortunate, we didn't have any issues. He was born slightly overdue. So, he wasn't ill or anything like that. But the fact that somebody had taken the time to make a hat for him, knowing that they'd never meet him, but they were just giving him this little thing and saying, "Welcome to the world." It was just such a wonderful thing. And I just sort of think if someone could do something as simple as that for me, when they've never met me and they don't know me, and I've got no obvious reason to need help, then surely that's a reason to give back a little more to the world in whatever way I can. And you can do it in a multitude of ways. I mean, the first volunteering thing I did after I became self-employed was one of the training providers I work with did a program to help people out during COVID. So if you're losing your job, or if you're thinking of changing careers, because everybody had that review moment during furlough, then I could basically give out free career coaching sessions, which I did for about 3 months, to help people figure out where they wanted to go next. I'm not crafty in any way. I kind of, in terms of time, I don't always have the time to do things like go down to food banks. But if I can help somebody find the job that they need at the very moment where they thought they were secure and now they're not, then I would rather give my time to help that in the way that I can, using the skills and my strengths that I can.
Exactly. So everyone at one point in the other had been a recipient of someone's free time and effort. While you were talking about your son receiving the hat, which he didn't know someone had already done for him, It made me think, it got me thinking. I had also received help from people too that I never knew, people who were thinking about ways to help me. One of those instances was when I was in secondary school. I needed help and support to understand some of those basic science subjects. And I had some group of graduates who volunteered to tutor me and some of my classmates. And we went and we learned the basics of chemistry and physics and biology. And I was able to do my exams right. What about my trip to the US as well? I had one woman who works with, who owns my two ladies knitting. She offered to pay for my hotel for some few days. So leaders at one point or the other had also been recipients of people's volunteering their time and effort and energy. So if you receive, it's important for you to also give back as well to make it balance.
I completely agree. And I think it is something that we do all the time, even if we're not doing it in any kind of official capacity. You know, every time we offer to carry someone's bag for them, every time we offer to help them get their kids on a plane or on a train or on a bus, like every time somebody drops something in the supermarket and you pick it up for them, that's you volunteering your time. So we do actually do it more than we think, don't we? It's just we kind of feel like sometimes I think people get this idea in their heads that if you're going to volunteer, you know, you have to do it in an official capacity and you have to commit 30 hours a week and all that. And some people just don't have time for that. But actually you can volunteer as little or as much as you've got time for, and you do it all the time anyway. You help people all the time anyway, whether you know them or not. And I think that's really important to recognise. What's been the most fulfilling thing you've done so far?
I think because of the nature of the kind of job I do, which is working with young people and teaching them the possibilities of what they can make with yarn and their needles, fulfillment for me is when I see a child smile after they are able to make something with their hands at the completion of their project. When the joy on their face, that's fulfillment for me. And I think that's the opportunity that should be extended to children across the world, to young people across the world, where they get to see the beauty of crafting with materials. I recently wrote an article, to yarn or not to yarn, every child should be given a chance. We have people who write in their biography, oh, I learned about art when I was in primary school. He or she learned about art because they had art materials in class. That's why he or she was able to experiment with art materials to say, oh, I am an artist. So how do we know that this child is going to be a crafter if we do not give them materials? So fulfillment for me is putting yarns and the skills and the techniques that is needed in the vicinity of children, so that they can see, they can decide for themselves if they want to craft with this or not. Let us give them the know-how, empower them, and having every child know the beauty of making and creating and doing with the yarn and the knitting piece is what fulfillment means to me.
It must be so wonderful to have that moment of, it's what I call the light bulb moment, when somebody suddenly realizes, I know how to do this now, or I know which way I need to go now. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. So it's imperative for everyone who is in the business of schooling children, who is in the business of empowering young people, give them the opportunity to craft because of the beauty, and they can now decide, oh, I just learned how to knit in year 6, I don't want to do it anymore. Let that be their decision. But ours is to give them all they need to keep them flying.
Leader's job is to create more leaders along the way. How does that happen? Through volunteering?
Yeah, so we have the Center for Knit Crochet. It's over 10 years now in the digital museum for crafting, for crocheting and knitting and all things craft. So part of what they stipulate on their website when you sign up for membership is they tell you, oh, you can be on the board, you can be for board service for a period of a time. And so I recently joined their board service. I'm on the membership coordinator for 2024 to 2025. And so how did that job become this vacant for me? It was because someone had been filling that role. Someone had been working in the 9-man board in the Center for Knit and Crochet. I'm making that digital museum available to anyone across the world. It's a free digital resource where knitters and crocheters and young generations of those who are not yet born can come up and look up to the digital library for information and resources. So my job on the board is to volunteer my time. And when my time ends, I might choose to say, oh, I want to renew for a while and leave. So by offering my time putting my input. I mean, in making it ready for the next generation who are coming along. So when leaders volunteer their time, their skills, their energy to make an impact, that impact you're making it on someone. That person in turn will take that impact. It's like a baton in a relay race. That person in turn will take that impact you have created, mull on it, grow with it, metamorphosize with it, and also create other impact as well. And he or she leaves the impact for the next generation to pick up and all. So when you lead through volunteering, giving your time, making a great impact and mark, you are leaving an imprint for others to look up to. And that imprint you have left, others look up to it, also make other impacts for the next generation. So it's like a relay race and it keeps going and going.
That's a wonderful analogy. I think that's a great way of describing it. I think that I see the same thing happening in business. So when you have leaders that are inspiring, influential, worth listening to, are really good communicators that, get the very best out of their staff, produce high performing teams. When you have a leader like that, any leaders within the team that then step up into your position in the future are more likely to be like that because you've made an impact on them. The same can be said of leaders that are perhaps a bit dictatorial or micromanaging, things like that. If you've got a leader like that, you're more likely to become that leader. So it is about the impact that you make, isn't it? It's about how you push people to how they're going to give back to the world, because one way or another, and whether it's paid or not, you're going to give back to the world. So yeah, but I love the fact that you described it as like a relay race.
Exactly. Like then you see this baton kind of relay analogy in peer-to-peer learning when you are teaching children. You teach them how to knit and they are knitting and they have their friend who is also struggling to get past the learning curve. So what do you see that child just taught? Who knows what to do? You see her teaching the other person. And guess what? They're using your style of teaching to teach that person. So if you're patient as you're teaching that young person how to knit, when he or she is passing the skill to her mate or his mate, he's also very patient as well because he's trying to practice your own style of doing things. So in creating making the next generation very giving the leadership baton to the next generation, it's important that your own personality it's a positive impact.
One of the biggest reasons I give myself, and I know a lot of people give themselves, for not doing more volunteering is a lack of time. What would you say to someone who says that?
Well, I think people make time to eat, no matter how busy they are, don't they? They make time to eat. They can actually also make out time to volunteer with their money. Volunteering, yes, you also have to be there too. You can also meet up with your funds as well. Because if you go to most of these charity pages, they'll tell you, oh, you can donate. You can donate. So if you're busy, that doesn't excuse the fact that you get deprived of the beauty of volunteering in person and not the beauty that's very rewarding. You can actually donate your funds as well, which is also one way you can bridge the gap, pending when you make yourself available to give up your time. So you can give up your funds.
Time is 100% the biggest excuse, I think, for me, is always like, oh, well, I've got a son and I've got a wife and I've got, work and I've got this and I've got that. And there's always a reason why I don't have that time. And actually, there have been a couple of occasions where I've looked at myself and gone, you know what, I should be giving up some time. I should be helping other people, even if it's just for like an hour a month. It's an hour a month is better than nothing.
And virtual, there are also a lot of virtual platforms where you can volunteer your time to be on their board, volunteer your skills. You can do that online. You can do that virtually as well too. So there are so many other platforms and ways you can give off your time.
Definitely. And I suppose that was one major advantage that came out from the pandemic generally, was that technology was forced to be pushed forward so fast that we've now got all these opportunities opening up for us. So whether you're there virtually or in person, technology has made volunteering a lot easier.
Yes, it has. I volunteer for the Textile Society of America, and I have never left the comfort of my home. I just volunteer maybe for tech support. I'm there online, maybe to proofread some editorial work. I'm there, maybe to anchor some sessions. I'm there. So it's just virtually. And guess what? Most of these amazing platforms know how well to manage people's time. They don't want to waste your time. So they are specific. Oh, you're coming in at 9, you're volunteering your time for tech support, tech moderator, 9 to 10. Or you're doing this for 45 minutes, you're doing this for 30 minutes, all of that. So they understand that people don't have time. They have time they don't want to waste. And so you have something accordingly you can do. So virtually, yes, you can volunteer.
You set a goal of reaching 20,000 African children with the skills of knitting and crochet. How far along are you with that
Right.
goal, and how can people help you?
Yes. So one, tell me what you think. I always say that when I talk on platforms, tell me what you think, because it just goes beyond just having this idea in your head on how you want to change the world. And feedback is very, very important. So I always give out my email address so you tell me what you think. So it won't be like it's just me in my head and all of that. Then we're actually in country number 3. That's the Cameroon, which I'll be going to in some few weeks. And we're trying to work in partnership with some of the other people who are there. And they're saying, even if you want volunteers in Cameroon, you have to pay a stipend. And I'm like, no, I have nothing to pay you. And they're like, if you want the best of people to volunteer, volunteering is quite new in Cameroon. You have to be able to give a stipend. So all of that is still new to me, but I'm excited about going to work with some children there and some young people. In between my schedule, I have a meeting with a school, some university students who are in textile department. I'm having a presentation with them. So tell me what you think. And when we have a country outreach, we now specifically request for certain things. So part of what we usually need maybe yarn, knitting pins. We have that from some of the yarn manufacturing factories who send us yarn. Rowan Yarns in the UK actually sent me like boxes of yarns. I'll be taking part of it too for the Cameroon outreach. I have knitting pins supported by my 2 ladies knitting, and they also supported with our flight fees as well. So what we do is, for every country we are visiting, we'll now make a request of what we're going to be needing on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/Souvenirs Creation. So if we do not have an outreach, we do not have a need. But when there's an outreach or visiting a new African country, we make requests of what we need. And to the kind and then kind donations of volunteers, we have those materials we need for the outreach.
Amazing. Is there a particular country you'd like to get to? Is there like a country you have in mind as like a personal goal of yours?
Maybe for 2025, I'm looking at Tanzania. Sometimes in August, Tanzania. Just go there, see how the children are doing, and then show them support by teaching a lot of them how to knit with their hands and what to make with the beauty of yarn.
Amazing. I love that. It's just so good. I'm so pleased I got you on here. Elizabeth, you've shared some incredible stories today. The work you do is inspiring, and it's wonderful to see you be recognised for the efforts you're making to give back to your community through things like the Golden Scissors Award. That was amazing to hear that you'd won it in the Emerging Leaders category. If someone wanted to learn more about you, what you do, your organisation, where could they find you?
All right, so my Facebook page is actually quite active, and I'm also active on Instagram as well, and my LinkedIn profile, which has my name. But my business, Souvenirs Creation, is very active on Facebook. So if you send me a DM on Facebook, I'll happily jump at it and reply you. So Facebook, and Instagram.
Amazing. And I'll put all the links for those in the description for this episode as well. So if people want to come and check you out, then they can. It's been amazing to talk to you today, Elizabeth. I think if more people could make the time to volunteer and give back to their communities, the world would be a much better place, and we'd see so many more incredible leaders stepping forward and making a difference. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I hope you've enjoyed being a guest today.
Of course, Laura. Thank you for having me. And thank you also for featuring this particular topic that is very close to my heart, leading through volunteering. I'm happy you actually caught it when I sent the email.
Yes, absolutely. I would have, of course, included you in this. I think a big guiding principle of this podcast was to make sure that it wasn't just confined to leaders in business, that we're talking to leaders from all parts of life, and to recognize that actually leadership can be found anywhere, and it really isn't a job title. And I think to highlight it in such an important area such as volunteering was necessary for me to put out there. And I think the work that you do, the way that you do it, and your personal sort of goals and missions are a really amazing inspiration for other people to take that challenge on and say, you know what, let's use my leadership somewhere else. Let's use it in another part of life. Let's make the world a little bit better simply because I've chosen to give up my time and energy and my skills as a leader to support somebody else in their journey. So yeah, you are more than welcome. I was more than happy to feature you today. So yeah, so pleased you could join me. It's been really, really great. It's been an insightful and empowering conversation. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, Laura. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for the podcast you do and for featuring great leaders across the world, and also recognizing that leadership is about making changes. And as long as you're making a positive change, you're an amazing leader.
Until next time, everyone.